A typical New Zealand CV template for your health carer jobs. That is your support worker, residential assistant, nursing assistant, and health assistant. And tips for you to implement so that you would start getting job interviews from overseas. That is what this video is going to be all about. If that sounds like what you've been looking forward to, stay glued. You are welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's still your humble Julia Chinelo, your out and about lady here in New Zealand, always bringing you situational report, not job interview after making series of application to come here to kick off your health to kick off your career in healthcare assistant role. The most obvious reason could be that your CV is not ATS compliant. I know you'll be like, what is ATS? ATS, in a nutshell, is a software that most companies or recruitment agencies in developed world and also is obtainable in developing countries for some top employers and recruiters. What this software do in a nutshell is that if you submit your application, it will search or scan your resume for the keywords, the required skills, to see if the keywords in your CV is matching what the employer wants, and also to see if the and also sometimes the layout of your CV, too much graphics, pictures, and all of that generate error message that this ATS software is unable to read your CV or process it, so your CV get dumped at the robot level. It doesn't even reach the HR. It doesn't even have that human interface. So I would be walking you through in this video for you to see how you can come up with a CV that is ATS compliant, and also have the skills, the layouts, and the professional profile that most employers in carer jobs in New Zealand look out for. Okay, guys, just as promised, so here is a typical example of a fanciful CV. Like I said earlier on, this is just an instant that I put up to show to you guys. So this is me here, and this is my name. This is the job title that I'm looking for. For example, community support worker. And here in New Zealand, I must tell you guys this, and I have to emphasize on it. We are not so much keen about your qualification. If you're a PhD, master's holder, degree holder, it doesn't really come to bit. The employers are mostly on the lookout for your professional profile, your career goal, or just a weird sentence that introduces who you are, what you have achieved, and where you are looking at going to. And the next thing they pay attention to is your skills. What skills have you to bring to the table for the role you are looking for? Have you got the necessary skills? Like, for example, if they say they are looking for a support worker, and one of the skills required is that the person should have a full driving license, able to drive a manual van. That should be a skill they are looking out for, and not your qualification. And another thing is experience. Here, experience matters a lot. I cannot say this enough. I have seen so many immigrants, non-immigrants as well, that are PhD holders, master's holders, that are working under high school certificate holders, because while they were going to school, Those high school certificate holders were busy gathering experiences, loads of experiences in the trade or the field of interest. And when those masters and PhD holders graduate, they lack the field experience, so they have to come under the certificate holders to start working and growing their career. So, having said all that, here is an example of a good content when it comes to the words and the experience skills needed, but the graphics is not worth it. Like I said, if you are not handing over your CV to your employer, like sending it via your prospective employer's email, you're going through a recruitment app to lodge your CV in, don't make this mistake of sending a very fanciful CV, because the ATS app or software that we talked about might have error message trying to read through this fancy CV. So this is a no, no, no. Pictures and graphics and a whole lot of that. But let's look at the professional profile of this CV are generated. So these are for this is a typical example that someone that lack that health assistance or support worker experience. This is just an example of what you can put up as your profile to get the attention of the recruiter. Let's read together. I have spent extensive time ensuring my disabled brother reaches his potential in life. Currently, he can do most of the basics for himself. I'm up for the next challenge to pursue a career as a healthcare assistant, as everyone around me feels the range of skills needed is inborn in me. Or you can say the range of skills needed is inherent in me. I'm a graduate of mass communication with 5 years of diversified experience, including customer services or customer service. So here is a typical example of you trying to use your experience, something you've walked through in life, to land yourself a career, which is allowed. So if you have a similar experience, maybe you taking care of your grandmother until her last day and something like that, you can construct a profile that is similar to this, that this is the reason why you think you can make a good career as an aged carer. You give an instance, an example of someone you've taken care of and how what happened that resonated that zeal in you that you could make a good carer. And if you have got related work experience, here also I've noticed that people that have experience in hospitality, customer services are usually considered for this carer job, because they are somehow interwoven. You need to have a good customer service skill like communication to be able to talk to the resident, to be able to relate to your manager and other people in the community, to ensure that the person you are looking after is integrate so well in the community and a whole lot of that. So communication is important. So if you have a customer service experience, bring it on the table, bring it on your CV. And if you also have a hospitality experience, bring it on your TV, because depending on the role description, oftentimes you are required to make meals for this resident. So that's a plus too. And you have to just put your education just like a normal CV outlet, but What I always tell people is do not leverage, and even when you get interviewed, do not focus so much on my education, because it doesn't really matter. This is not a typical country where connections and nepotism will most likely land you a job. So it's more of what you've got and what you're bringing to the table. So your skills, like I mentioned earlier on, matters. Just ignore the range of skills I wrote here. Whenever you're applying for any role, be it healthcare, assistant job, or support worker, or any other job, you have to check the range of skill that they listed in the recruitment outlook, what they are looking for, to make sure that you incorporate all those skills in the skills section of your CV. So if they say they are looking for somebody with a good customer service, you make sure you incorporate that into your CV under your skills. Highlight those skills that they're looking for in your CV. And also, there are often courses that are required, although if you do first head overseas and you come over here, your employer still needs to ensure you get a New Zealand one. So but it'll make you stand out when you've done a similar course by the course provider in your home country, like your first aid provided by Red Cross in Nigeria. So, and reference also, you try and put your reference. In some case, if your CV is too long and you don't want it exceeding, of course, you don't, if you don't have PhD, even those with PhD, is just pretty normal that you try and keep your CV just at most 2 pages. So if reference will make it exceed 2 pages, I would advise that you skip reference. If they are considering you after interview, they would always ask you to supply your reference for reference check. And most recruiters here will ask for your consent if they're considering moving further with you to proceed with your reference check. Then you can then tell them that the ones you supplied in your CV are still the same ones you want to continue with, or you provide, or you can update them on your new reference if you want to make changes to it. And um if it's a job that requires you to speak other language apart from English, like there are some Chinese owned companies here that would appreciate a touch of Mandarin and a whole lot of that. So you try and highlight that in your CV. Otherwise, there's no need for this column. And also hobbies. To be candid with you, nobody really care about your hobbies, but you should highlight it if your hobbies would help you deliver in the job you are chasing. Like, for example, if you're looking for a support work job, and they tell you that one of your responsibility is to cook for the resident, to clean up, and to take the residents for coffee. So you can say that cooking is your hobby, cleaning and hanging out with friends is your hobby, because it will count in the job. Okay, guys, and I would like to share this with you. This is a New Zealand based agency. I think is in Wellington. They call it Wellington Resume. You can have a draft of your CV, then reach out to them to see if they can help you arrange it. I think it's free, like it's stated here, free CV resume. You can reach out to them by their email for a support to get you started. But this is um this is it, guys. You can reach out to them. That I will try and drop their link in the comment section, and I'll just minimize this to show you guys a typical CV layout, the one that is not with so much graphics. You can use something like this, Okoro Juliet Chinelo. If you are a professional and allied health member and you've done your certification, like I always encourage you guys to, you can put something like Bachelor of Pharmacy graduate with NZQA, letting them know you have done this your New Zealand assessment, then currently tell them what you're pursuing, diversified experience, and a whole lot of that. And if you are currently working as a support worker or in any allied health role, you can say support worker, a pharmacy, or something, a nurse oversee, and write your responsibility. So I would encourage this layout if you want to do it by yourself and forget about the graphics type, and remember summary or professional profile, skills, and experience should align with the job you are chasing. So this is it, guys. I would share today is, if you can afford it, get your degree. If you've got a degree assessed by NZQA, this is a New Zealand body that assess overseas qualification to ascertain their New Zealand equivalent. Sometimes they will get your degree assessed. They might place you in level 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on what you studied and what your curriculum comprises of from overseas. And the reason why I urge those of you that could afford this to do it is because you are overseas. You are competing with other candidates that probably have touch of New Zealand. They could have a New Zealand reference that referees locally here to present to the employer. They also could have a number of New Zealand qualification. Probably they did masters or did small courses here, 3 months course that would make them to stand out to the employer. And the number 3 reason why I encourage you to do this assessment, if you can afford it, is work experience. You have no touch of New Zealand work experience, so doing this assessment, NZQA would give you that would give a touch of New Zealand on your CV. And finally, you don't have a work right, you don't have a work visa, and you are looking forward that this your employer would sponsor you. So it's good to stand out with your skills, probably your overseas experience, so that you will start getting an interview from overseas that would probably land you a job here in New Zealand. And the second tip I want to give you today that would help you to start getting accredited employer or employers that could sponsor you to see your CV that could for you to start getting interviews from overseas is the second tip I would like to give you today is a tip not to waste your time. I have already shared top New Zealand recruitment website with you guys. I would try and also attach that video. So when you hop on this website, try and filter the job. Make sure the employer is an accredited employer, would be able to sponsor your visa, so that you don't waste your time and energy just filling in random application, and at the end, probably during the time of interview, the recruiter or the employer will be, oh no, you don't have visa, you don't have right to work here in New Zealand, so we are not proceeding. So I want you to reduce whatever waste your time, so that you'll be targeted and be here sooner than you can think of it. So the 3 tip I would give you today is go for jobs that are in long time shortage skill list here in New Zealand. Go for jobs that have genuine skill shortage. That implies that probably a lot of people here in New Zealand already don't want don't want to do that kind of job, or there are genuine shortage people that have the experience and skills locally here are all employed, so you don't have too many local candidates that will be competing with you in that role. That will increase your chances of getting hired from overseas. And the fourth tip that I will be sharing with you today is, as much as you can, try and follow up. If you are signed up with a recruiter, that you've submitted your CV, I'm not saying bug them, but you should remind them that you should often remind them, look, still interested in this role, what is the stage of the recruitment, and stuff like that. That would make them to think of you more and probably know that you are interested in this role, and if hired you would apply yourself to deliver. And also know that there is a thin line between following up and bugging the recruiter or the employer. So try not to be on the face of the employer all the time, but follow up like in a way that it won't be like you are disturbing them. So the final tip I would be sharing with you today is, you have to be committed to job application. Yeah, I have had a lot of you tell me, Juliet, I have done 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 applications and I'm tired. If I'm to open up with you, even me that is locally here in New Zealand, if I want to change trade or career and set up my job application, I don't just do 10, 20, 30 and get an interview or job offer. I keep applying. If I open my email to share with you guys, when I got the current job I'm doing now, I did series of application. If I'm not exaggerating, at least they should be up to 50. So it is not easy, guys. You have to be committed to make it happen. So now that I have shared that typical template with you guys, that typical New Zealand template with you guys, what are you waiting for? What is hindering you from getting it rolled out? Please do, and let me know what you think on the comment section.